Assalamu alaikum. This is Pratusha Burwal welcoming you all to the English news from BTV Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus urges international community to undertake collective efforts to stop violence against Rohingya by Myanmar Junta and Iraqi army. Depositions heard against 3 accused, including Sheikh Hasina, on 8th day of testimony in case over crimes against humanity committed during July-August movement. Hearings on demarcation objections related to constituencies in Khulna, Borishal and Chattogram regions held. At least 20, including 5 journalists, killed in Israeli strike on hospital in southern Gaza. And Real Madrid beat Oviedo by 3-0 at Carlos Tartiere Stadium in La Liga. Viewers, those were the headlines, and moving on to the details. Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus said they don't afford anymore to stand silent at the protracted situation of Rohingyas and urged upon the international community to undertake collective efforts to stop the Myanmar junta and the Iraqi army from unleashing violence against the Rohingya. He stressed on much more effective role of the international community in this regard. The Chief Advisor said this while addressing the ongoing 3-day international conference titled Stakeholders Dialogue Takeaways to the High-Level Conference on Rohingya Situation at a hotel in Cox's Bazar today. Professor Yunus acknowledged continued support, assistance and solidarity of the donors, partners, UN agencies, international organizations and friends across the globe to the Rohingya sheltered in Bangladesh. The Chief Advisor placed 7-point proposals seeking collective efforts for charting a practical roadmap for the speedy, safe, dignified, voluntary and sustainable return of the Rohingyas to their homes in Rakhine as soon as possible.
In 2017, and even before that, Bangladesh opened its border to the Rohingya in a humanitarian gesture to save their lives despite resource and capacity constraints. This manifests our empathy and compassion towards fellow human beings during their gravest humanitarian crisis. We don't afford anymore to stand silent at the protracted situation of the Rohingyas. Hence, we urge upon the international community to undertake collective efforts to stop the Myanmar junta and the Arakan army from unleashing violence against Rohingya. Effective role of the international community is much more needed than ever before. I acknowledge the continued support, assistance and solidarity of the donors, our partners, UN agencies, international organizations and friends across the globe to the Rohingyas sheltered in Bangladesh. We greatly value your compassion and continued partnership for the Rohingyas. Your continued support will remain pivotal and exigent until they return home.
Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus said that the nation is ready for the next general election as the country has come to a stable situation after a mass uprising mixed with the killing spree last year.
Rohingya issue and its sustainable resolution must be kept alive on the global agenda as they need our support until they return home. You may recall that last year in the United Nations General Assembly, I made a 3-point proposition to address the Rohingya crisis. In recognition of my call, the high-level conference was envisaged for this year's General Assembly. I hope that this dialogue here in Cox's Bazar will contribute substantively to the conference in New York in shaping the roadmap for an expedited and permanent solution of the Rohingya crisis. Bangladesh supports and is working relentlessly for a sustainable solution to your crisis. This dialogue is aimed at amplifying your voice in rolling out a roadmap towards early, voluntary, and sustainable return to your homeland. Now we are ready for another transition in our political history. We have announced the time for election. It's just about a year back, we had the uprising mixed with the killing spree, and the country has come to this stable enough and ready to have the election. So we announced the election in the first half of February 2026.
High Representative for the Rohingya issue and National Security Advisor Dr. Khobor delivered the welcome address, while Disaster Management and Relief Advisor Faruqi Azam and Assistant High Commissioner UNHCR Rauf Moze spoke at the event. On the 8th day of testimony in the case over crimes against humanity committed during the July-August movement, depositions were heard against fascist Sheikh Hasina, Asaduzaman Khan Kamal, and one other accused. A three-member judicial panel led by Justice Muhammad Ghulam Mujumdar, chairman of International Crimes Tribunal 1, recorded this statement of two witnesses this morning. Earlier, in connection with the Rampura shooting of a student who was hanging from a rooftop ledge, Tribunal 1 ordered the publication of notices in newspapers, directing fugitive former DMP Commissioner Habibur Rahman Habib and three others to appear before the court. Additionally, the tribunal instructed that Sachin Malik, arrested in the Farmgate triple murder case during the July movement, be produced in court on Thursday. Briefing journalist Prosecutor Mohammad Mizanul Islam said the witnesses gave detailed accounts of the incidents in court and demanded justice against those responsible, naming Sheikh Hasina, Asaduzaman Khan Kamal, Ubaidul Qadir, local MP of Gulshan Bada Wakil Uddin, two councillors, former IGP Chaudhry Abdullah Al Mamun, along with all police officers involved in the killings. As part of preparations for the 13th National Parliamentary Election, the Election Commission today ended its second day of hearings on demarcation objections related to constituencies in the Khunla, Borishal and Chattogram regions. The hearing began at 10 a.m. in the auditorium of the Election Commission building in the capital, with Chief Election Commissioner A.M.M. Nasiruddin in the chair. Election Commissioners and Secretary of the EC Secretariat joined the hearing. At the outset, the hearings were held on claims and objections related to the Satkhira 3, 4 and Joshua 3, 6 constituencies, followed by hearings on Bagirhat 1, 2 and 3 constituencies. Bangladesh has secured the first position in the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative ranking, achieving a rate of 55%. This information was revealed today at an event organized at the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery in the capital on the occasion of World Breastfeeding Week. The theme of this year's is Prioritize Breastfeeding, Create Sustainable Support Systems. At the inaugural event, speakers highlighted how breastfeeding rates have been steadily declining over time, as well as the measures needed to reverse the trend. They emphasized the importance of creating breastfeeding-friendly environments, particularly for working mothers and those from low-income backgrounds. Health Advisor Nurjahan Begum urged doctors not to prescribe or promote formula milk and powdered milk packets in prescriptions. She said that the government will work to create environments that enable working mothers to breastfeed their children and called upon various NGOs to step forward in this effort. Special Assistant to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Professor Dr. Muhammad Saidur Rahman, was present at the event. Health Services Division Secretary Muhammad Saidur Rahman presided over the function. Religious advisor Dr. A.F.M. Khalid Hussain said, Bangladesh is a non-communal country where everyone has the freedom to practice their own religion without any obstacles. He made the remarks at a Muladun Nabi Mahfil event organized by Bangladesh Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat at the Andurkila Shahi Jamai Mosque premises in the city today. The advisor said Bangladesh has a long-standing tradition of religious tolerance. He also highlighted the importance of following the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to guide the nation and bring about positive social change. To operate the country in the light of the sirat of the Prophet, we must come closer to each other, he added. To change society according to the sirat of the Prophet, we must change our mentality. President of Bangladesh Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat in Chattogram, Maulana Said Muhammad Abu Noman presided over, while the Khatib of Andurkela Shahi Jami Mosque, Allama Said Anwar Hussain Tahir Jaberi al-Madani, attended as the chief guest. Maulana Qari Abdullah Al-Amin was the keynote speaker. Among others, Maulana Shah Muhammad Abdul Hai Nadvi, Maulana Muhammad Ishaq, Maulana Muhammad Anwarul Haq, Maulana Muhammad Tajul Islam, Maulana ATM Tahir, and Professor Dr. Abdul Manan Chaudhry was also spoke at the event. Now, international news. At least 20 people, including 5 journalists, are reported to have been killed in an Israeli strike on a hospital in the southern Gaza Strip. Gaza Civil Defense said Israeli forces have destroyed more than 1,000 buildings in the Jeitan and Sabra neighborhoods on Gaza City since August 6. Meanwhile, Arab and Islamic states gathered in Jeddah for an emergency meeting of the Organizations of Islamic Cooperation of the Humanitarian Catastrophe in Gaza. UNRWA Chief Philippe Lazzarini said the famine is the last calamity hitting Gaza, calling it hell in all shapes. Israel has killed at least 62,622 people and wounded 1,57,673 in its attacks on Gaza. Meanwhile, the Houthi said that at least 4 people were killed and 67 others wounded by Israeli attacks on Yemen's Sana'a, which hit the presidential palace and energy facilities. Russia and Ukraine have each exchanged 146 prisoners of war after mediation by the United Arab Emirates, and the Russian Ministry of Defense says about the latest in a series of exchanges that has seen hundreds of prisoners of war released this year. The ministry said the freed Russians were in Belarus receiving psychological and medical care. Large-scale prisoners exchange were the only tangible result of the 3 rounds of talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations in Istanbul from May to July. They remain one of the few areas of cooperation between the 2 countries since Russia's war on its neighboring began in 2022. Russia also said 8 citizens of the Russian Federation, residents of the Kursk region, illegally detained by Kyiv, were also returned as part of the exchange. Kursk sits on the border with Ukraine.